football starts today. Tonight, actually, the NFL kicks it all off. This is obviously preseason, but nonetheless, NFL, full uniforms. It's not just a practice. This is a preseason game. It's a Hall of Fame game. And this ought to be a lot of fun, John. You got the Chargers. You've got Harbaugh over there, of course, and this guy's one of the all-time greats, and he has put together a heck of a team in a short period of time. Some of it was built for him, but he's been building it as well. And expect them to be a team this year, John, that puts up a bunch of beasts up front, not just the usual 5. There's going to be 6 or 7 guys out there. Some of them are tight ends. Some are extra linemen, but they're going to run the football. And it's going to be really interesting to see how well this finally getting into this second year for Harbaugh. I think this is going to be a special year. I think I'm pretty more than excited about this one. But by the way, and they're playing the Detroit Lions, who we know how great they were last year. I guess what we're going to have to try to find out, John, is what happens to a team like the Lions who lose 2 coordinators, the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator, right? It's not that complicated, but it's somewhat complicated when you bring in somebody else. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how fast they are able to get themselves back to where they maybe were last year, if they can do that. I think they can. But when you got a guy like Dan Campbell in charge, John, you always have an opportunity there that's going to be great. I thought I'd just give you a couple of quick ones, and you tell me if you agree with this. So for the AFC, here's my top 5 teams as of this year. Baltimore, Buffalo, Kansas City, the Chargers, and the Steelers. Now, a lot of other people have got Cincinnati there and blah, blah, blah. And it's not that I think Cincinnati's great. But the Steelers, I'm more and more convinced daily, as you know, we've talked about a little bit, but I think Aaron Rodgers actually is settling into who he is now, his age that he is now, and he's got Tomlin on top of him. Tomlin takes no crap from anybody, John. So that's why I think that Aaron Rodgers, he's a great guy. He's a free-spirited guy and all the rest of that stuff. You and I know him. We like him. But I don't think this is going to be the Aaron Rodgers we saw with the Jets. I think he can put up the same numbers. I know he's getting older, but I think he can put up the same numbers because they got so much talent on the team. So that's my AFC. And then on the NFC, I got Philadelphia, Detroit, Tampa, San Francisco, and Washington. And everybody cast out San Francisco because of what happened last year. They finished at the bottom of their division and everything. They didn't play very, very well, but that was mostly because they had everybody hurt. The left tackle was out. Your tight end is out. Multiple receivers are out. The best running back potentially in football with McCaffrey, he was out. When you lose that many people, and you had it on the defensive side of the ball too, it's pretty tough to win. I think if they can stay healthy, John, San Francisco is going to be back to being the San Francisco we're used to. But I like Washington in there too. Look, that quarterback, I don't think it's too big for him. He showed it last year. I think he'll do it again this year.
Well, and on a sad note, Pete, as we kick off the football season, Shannon Sharp getting dumped over at ESPN. And he was accused of sexual harassment. And I'm not going to comment on that. I know nothing about it other than what's in the press. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry it came down to that because I did enjoy him on the media, Pete, both with Skip Bayless and with his new deal that was supposed to be about $100 million deal.
Jeez.
But his former girlfriend sued him for this and wanted $50 million, allegedly settled for $23 million, Pete. And so that's a rather sad thing for a guy that's Pro Football Hall of Fame, about to hit the ball out of the ballpark with a great show that's basically featuring him. And now ESPN just said, done. And they walked away. So it happens. So I'm sorry for Shannon, though. Like I say, he and Sterling, I thought, were great players, Pete. They obviously were great players. And Shannon's in the Hall of Fame. Sterling didn't make it there. But I think it's just a sad commentary that some allegations like this can cause him to basically turn his life upside down.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. By the way, on a more up note, Jared Allen, Minnesota Vikings. I'll tell you what, John, great football player and colorful guy. I mean, he's just some big old hick who he's out there basically when he used to get his sacks, he'd always give him the old lasso sort of thing, like he was out there playing in the rodeo, which, you just got to love the guy. He was a lot of fun for the Minnesota Vikings, and he's going into the Hall of Fame, so congrats to him. All right, John, I got another quickie for you.
All right.
Let's break down the Raiders for just a second. And here's why I say that. Everybody kind of the Raiders are not talked about the way they always used to be talked about, right? And I think part of that was coaching the last couple of years. They just didn't have probably the right guy for the right players and all the rest of it. But here's what is exciting for me. They got Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll has done it at every level. He done it at USC. He did it up in Seattle. He was my defensive back coach when I played for the Vikings, and when he was much younger man. But he doesn't show his age. He looks happy as hell. He looks like a guy he wanted to get back in the game. When he sort of semi-retired or whatever, or pushed out, whatever it was. We just didn't know what the story was. Well, we're starting to get the story. And by the way, age-wise, just yesterday we were talking about, some of these guys that are a little bit older. Would they be interested? Nick Saban, does he want to come back? Yeah, I don't know. But if he does, I think there's a lot of people out there who'd have a lot of interest, kind of like Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll's with the Raiders, John. I love what they did with the draft. I love what they did with the free agency. I think that they have put the right players in place for them, including Geno Smith. Does he have great numbers? No. But under Pete Carroll, that guy actually played very, very well and was one of those shockingly good quarterbacks. Not great, but good quarterbacks. And that might be all they need, because they've got a heck of a lot of players on the offensive, defensive side both. I think that the Raiders could be a lot of fun this year, John. I don't know how far they go, but they could potentially be a playoff team. Not a Super Bowl team, in my opinion, but they could be a playoff team that could maybe go through the first round or two, because I think Pete Carroll's that good.
Well, and one of the things, Pete, that used to always be in favor of your Minnesota Vikings was home field advantage. Through the playoffs, Minnesota played outside back in the day, folks. And it was miserable cold. And Pete and I sat in those stands freezing. And you were half a mile away from the field. I mean, if you were on the first baseline, which is where we were, which is the 50-yard line in how that stadium was configured, Pete, Met Stadium, my God, you were easily 100 yards from where the field was, because in order to stretch it to almost the 120 yards, because end zones are 10 yards apiece and so forth, in order to stretch it all the way, they had to cut out a piece of the one side, the end zone, Pete, just to squeeze it in, sort of like the Bears did back when they played at Wrigley. Yeah. Well, I think the Raiders, long-winded explanation, have a similar home field advantage, because when those teams come in there, I'll just say there's a lot of distractions in Las Vegas, Pete.
I'm glad you cleaned that up.
I think a lot of people that go to Atlanta, and Atlanta should have a home field advantage as well as, and I think both of them do, Pete.
Yeah.
Because of the same sort of issue. But it is an advantage, because those players might be a little worn out if they're up late at night instead of getting some shut-eye before the games. And they have to be in, by NFL rules, the day before the game. Yeah. So, of course, that means they're in the night before the game, too.
You're probably just talking about the gambling side as well.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure. Yeah, just casinos. It's the casinos that do it.
Yeah.
Well, folks, thanks for joining us. As we said, we will be completely sold out by tomorrow. I think we have 2 tickets left right now. So if you guys want to come to Florida, the 19th and 20th of September, 19th is a Friday. We're going to be doing live trading. So if you're somebody who's there pointing and clicking and trying to load up your screen and saying, well, if you buy this one, what should I sell here and so forth? Yeah. We can help you live on the 19th. The 20th, it's all about education and so forth. A lot of great stories. And it's limited to 120 people in the facility at Grant Cardone's headquarters. So there's so many reasons to want to be one of those last 2 people to buy those tickets, because I guarantee tomorrow, gone. Yep. But you can still get them today. Click that QR code and join us. And Pete and I will be back Monday next week in August, 1 p.m.